My name is Bill Thiessen, and I'd like to present to you a product that we've called Frigi Tech. Frigi Tech is a polarized refrigerant oil additive designed to work in air conditioning and refrigeration systems of all sizes and all types, including ammonia systems. Frigi Tech was designed about 23 years ago by a chemical engineer at Rice University down in Houston, Texas, and an HVAC contractor also in Houston, Texas. They combined and worked together for about 3.5 years before they came up with this product. Actually did 328 different chemical formulations before they came up with it. And the purpose of the product was strictly to reduce the wear and tear in compressors so that the maintenance costs would go down on the equipment. And along with that, we found that it also has a tremendous energy savings concept. So we use the product for our customers. Number one, in our case, to reduce the energy consumption, but also number two, to reduce your maintenance and replacement costs. So it's a rather unique and interesting product. What I'd like to do is demonstrate it for you, and I'm going to compare Sunasol 3GS, which is the industrial standard lubricant used in all air conditioning systems pretty much in the United States at this point in time. And then I'm going to add to it Frigi Tech, and I've got them divided in little bottles. You can see color-wise they look virtually the same. Frigi Tech is an additive. You add it by 5% by volume on regular AC systems, and ammonia systems about 8%. It is an additive only. You don't replace the standard oil you add it to. It can be mixed and blended to whatever type of oil, whether a mineral oil or a synthetic oil that you have in your facility, whether you're using ammonia or whether you're using Freon, that doesn't matter. Even ice arenas with brine systems, it works good for those too. What I have here set up very simply is a little electric motor that's driving a pulley and a shaft. I can turn it on here. As it turns that pulley here, you can see on this side I have a bearing, and you can see that bearing is brand new. There's no scores or anything on it. If you close up on that bearing, you can see. And what I'm going to do is use a torque wrench to apply pressure with that bearing. You'll notice this one's locked and can't turn, and we're going to test the lubricity of the Sunasol standard industrial oil and then the Sunasol added together with the Frigi Tech to see how it helps reduce your costs both electrically and maintenance-wise. I have a little electric meter over here showing me the amperage drawing on this motor, and right now we're drawing, let me see, about 4.25 amps. Now for safety purposes, I am going to tuck in my tie. I don't want to get caught in that pulley. And then I'm going to take the Sunasol, and I have a little oil reservoir down here, and I'm going to add enough. There is constant oil flow over the top of that. And if I put my finger here and you can close up, you can see the oil build up on my finger. So there's plenty of oil on that at all times. That's just the Sunasol 3GS, which is the industrial standard air conditioning oil in your units right now. So I've got my bearing attached. I am going to add the torque wrench. And then I'm going to start applying pressure. And there's three things that are going to happen here as we do it. Number one, you're going to see the amp drop, the amps grow. I'm actually going to have to change to another scale. Number two, you'll watch the torque here. You're going to find out just exactly how many pounds of pressure it takes to lock up this motor. There's a 1/4 horsepower motor. And number three, you're going to hear a tremendous amount of noise. So please, here we go. Let's concentrate on the amperage first while I do this. Amperage goes off the scale. I'm going to change it up one scale because we haven't locked up yet. Now we're on the 15 amp scale, down around 4. You can hear a tremendous amount of noise, and we actually lock up the motor. And if you can home here and see the torque, it's about 15 or 16 pounds of torque when it locks up. Okay, if we take a look at this bearing here, this is the industrial oil supplied by the manufacturer recommended to be in this air conditioning unit. And if you look real close here, you can see we took a big gouge out of that bearing. You also see it's not very smooth. It's quite hot. If you run your fingertip over it, it's quite rough too. I'm going to take this and use this as my base to compare it to, and I'm going to turn this bearing 90 degrees so that I actually have another clean surface. Now I'm going to take and make another gouge about the same size, So then I can take and use it as used equipment. And then at that point, I'm going to add some Frigi Tech and see what kind of difference it makes to that. So let's go ahead and make another gouge, just like we had. Now we have a gouge about the same size as what we had before. You can see it's pretty rough and it's pretty big. And I'm going to take Frigi Tech and I'm going to add it by volume about 5-6%. So I'm not going to add near as much as I had of the oil in there to start with. Just a little bit. Now we're going to go back on that same thing and show you what happens to used equipment when you add Frigi Tech. I want you to watch the ammeter to start with and tell me what happens there as I take this up to 15 pounds. We really haven't moved yet. Torque-wise, I'm actually running about 25 pounds, the amperage at all there. We're going to add a little more torque here. You can see it's still running. Still quiet. And we're about 45 pounds. Amperage-wise, I'm running around 5 amps. So the wear and tear, the extra strain, I'm not increasing the amperage on it, even though I'm literally double what it took, almost 3 times what it took to lock up before. Now going back to the bearing itself, you can see that it's polished up, it's smoother. We have literally taken off the friction edges, made it nice and smooth and very, very easy to turn. Now, I'm going to go a little step farther here. I'm going to take that bearing one more point, another 90 degrees. At this point in time, if I had a brand new air conditioner, I'd have equipment that looked like this. This one showed you Frigi Tech with used air conditioner. Obviously, it's going to polish up the equipment. It's going to bond to the metal. It's going to make it smoother, less friction, and less electricity. But what we really want to see is it going to make less wear and tear on the equipment. So let's do that now. This is like a brand new piece. And let's see. There's to about 5.5, maybe 6 amps. The torque wrench only goes as far as 75 pounds. I don't know if I can get that far or not. Look at that. We're at 75 pounds torque. The motor's still running. Frigi Tech's there. Now, what do you think has happened to our bearing through that? How's that bearing look and the score and the damage to that versus what we had the first time we were here, which is basically this one over on this side? Dramatic reduction in wear and tear. The protection is both heat and friction oriented. Frigi Tech molecularly bonds to the metal, sticks there, heat, pressure, it does its job, eliminates the friction. Literally, we have gone about 15 to 1,600 times, or 15 to 1,600% improvement in lubricity and dramatic reduction in the wear of the equipment.